Greetings, folks. Mr. Heiser here with your how to make your mechanical arm parts for the mechanical arm design project. So I'll scroll down here. The first thing you always want to look at when you're working on a larger scale project is the bill of materials. A bill of materials is a list basically that has all of the parts needed to create this project. It talks about the numbers or the labeling system. It has the name of the part, which you can see in this column here. It has the size, also known as the dimensions, the materials, and then the quantity. Now the quantity we don't really need to pay attention to for right now because we're just going to be making the parts. Okay. When you make a part file, you always just make one of that part, because when you do an assembly file later on, that's when you can bring multiples of that same part into it. Alright, so if I'm looking at this, I'm just going to see if I can highlight here. Parts 1 through 5 are just dowels that are made out of maple. And a dowel is a cylindrical piece of, well, wood in this case, that is a specific length that's round and doesn't really have anything else to it besides just a diameter and a length. And so I don't really need to look at my drawings to know how big to make these, because I can look at my dimensions right here and just create these based off of seeing the word dowel. So part 1, which is the arm, is a 1/2 inch diameter that's 12 inches long. So I'm going to go back to my inventor screen here, and I'm going to open up a new part file. And remember, it takes a minute or two to create these part files for the first time or so. And while we're waiting, something that might be a good idea for you to do, since there's going to be so many different files for this project, you might want to create a folder within your H drive that's called mechanical arm parts, because we're going to be making 19 different parts for this project, and it can become quite lengthy. So, alright, so here we go. I'm going to create a 2D sketch, and I'm going to use the circle tool, and I'm going to dimension this to a diameter of 0.5. I'm going to finish the sketch, and I'm going to extrude it 12 inches. And lastly, I need to come up to the top portion of my screen and change this to maple. So wood maple. Alright? And that's part 1. So I need to do the save as when I'm done. And I'm going to save this to that, let's see if I can find it on here, mechanical arm parts folder. I'm going to save part 1, arm. And I'm going to save. Okay. Going back to my parts list, part 2 is the pivot rod. Okay, and looking at the dimensions of the pivot rod, it's 3/4 diameter and 4.5 in length. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to create a new part file. Get it prepped here. And it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to draw a circle, and it's going to be 3/4 in diameter. And I'm going to extrude it to 4.5 inches. And again, I'm going to color it, or give it the properties, I should say, of wood maple. And I'm going to save this as part 2, pivot rod. Okay. So let's keep moving. Part 3 is the rotation arm. and that is a 3/8 inch diameter rod. That's 4.5 inches in length. Alright. So, open up a new standard.ipt. And create that circle. That's 3/8. And I can type in 3/8 by going 3\8, and that's the same thing as 0.375. Okay. And I'm going to finish the sketch and extrude it. I believe it was 4.5. Let me just go back and confirm. 3/8 by 4.5. Yep. Rotation arm. So I'm going to color this maple again. And do a save as. Part 3. Rotation arm. And there's that. So let's move on to part 4. The rear pivot rod, which is 3/8 inch by 3 inches. Okay. So I'm going to create a new part file. I'm going to draw my circle to 3/8. I'm going to finish the sketch and extrude it to 3. And again, color it maple. Oh. I'm going to save as part 4, rear pivot rod. Alright, going back. Part 5 is the finger pins. And part 5, if I look closely, is a 1/4 inch diameter by a 1/2 inch dowel. Now if you get confused by these things ever, I can scroll down into my list here. Unfortunately, they're not in numerical order. Okay. And here's part 5 right here. 1/4 inch diameter by 3/4 in length. So let's go back up to our parts list. Okay, there's a little bit of a discrepancy here. Alright. That happens sometimes in parts list, and I wanted to make sure that we pointed that out. Sometimes your parts list or your bill of materials may be different from your drawings. Okay, and this is where we need to do some problem solving to figure out where the right dimension should be. So this is where I can scroll down and I need to look at my assemblies, because obviously these parts get put together. Okay, everything gets put together, and you can see that part 5 goes into part 17. So I need to find part 17. I'm doing some reverse engineering and problem solving here. Alright, here we see that part 17 is a height of 0.75. So that's how long my dowel should be. Alright, so let's go back. I'm going to create a new part file. And do a 2D sketch. And create a circle that's 0.25. I'm going to finish the sketch and extrude it to 0.75. And don't forget to color it maple. And this is going to be saved again. Oh, scroll up here. As the finger pin. So save as part 5 finger pin. Alright, so if I click this little button down here, Arrange, I can actually see all my parts that I created. And this is how you create parts 1 through 5, which are your dowels and your pins for your mechanical arm.